Привіт. I'm Chuck Olinik, a Ukrainian-American, baptized with the name Yaroslav, which is also the name I use when I do historical reenactment in the group The Society for Creative Anachronism. One of the things that I got into over the years of being exposed to a lot of things Slavic in my house was I started doing research on Slavic folklore and Slavic mythology. And I decided the way to make it more accessible would be to use this format. And so I've been putting together videos maybe to jumpstart people's interests in these particular areas. Let these be starting points for further research. And I've been putting them up on my YouTube channel, which would be really nice if you subscribe to. So I've been wading through these tales of the Bogatyri, the Bogatyrs. These are the heroes of Slavic folklore. These are essentially the Knights of the Round Table. If you put the Round Table in Kiev, and instead of Arthur, you had Prince Volodymyr Brightson. Well, there's a Lancelot of the group, Ilya of Murom or Ilya of Murometz. Now, sometimes when I've been researching folklore and folk tales about him and about others, I'd find hints of adventures, but all they are like maybe a couple of lines of, oh, he did this really cool thing, and he fought off his enemies with this unbelievable choice of a weapon, and oh, here's a couple of other lines about something else. So I decided that those tales need to be told. So in a weird way, this can be a new Bellini about Ilya of Murom. So I will speak of Ilya of Murom and how he came to be known as Ilya the Boot. Who would tell us of the things of old and the things that have been, of that Ilya, of Ilya of Murom, of Ilya Murometz, son of Ivan, of that Ilya, some called Ilya Chobotok, Ilya the Boot. All know the Bellini of the mighty Ilya Murometz, he whose armor was crafted by Krasnoyar the great smith, who also made many of his fine weapons, worthy of being wielded by a Bogatyr. And all know of his great battle sword, the sword Ilya was gifted by the elder hero Svyatogor, and many a foe of Prince Volodymyr Brightson, Redson, had fallen to Ilya's arms. But Ilya was not merely gifted with great strength bestowed upon him by the pilgrims who raised him from his cripple's bed, and by the elders Bogatyr Svyatogor, but with courage and cunning as well. Once, when Ilya had traveled many versts, ridding Prince Volodymyr's lands of outlaws and brigands, he chanced to camp by a river one night to take his rest. But in the night, a band of Tatars crept upon him. Caught unawares, they rushed upon the Bogatyr as a pack of wolves seeks to pull down a stag. Defending himself, he seized the object closest to him, his helm, which rested atop his armor. Wielding it with great ferocity, the Tatar foes became not the hunters, but the prey, and Ilya Murometz fought them through the night. At dawn, he saw his camp strewn with lifeless bodies. A great thirst consumed him, and he dipped his helm, the helm with which he defeated the Tatar wolves, into the river and drank deeply of the waters. When he returned to mighty Kiev town, the royal town, Prince Redson summoned his Bogatyr and asked of his adventures. Ilya spoke of the Tatar wolves he'd bested with only his helm in his hands, and how he drank at dawn from the river, surrounded by his slain enemies. And this is where the custom comes of Rus warriors who, having defeated their foes, taking their helms, dunking them in the river, and drinking the waters from their helms to celebrate their victories. In the tales, this is not the only offhand object Ilya uses to beat back his enemies. Ilya also used what was at hand at another time. Once again, the mighty Bogatyri had ridden his horse Cloudfall far and wide across Prince Volodymyr Brightson's lands, his domain, and defeating evil wherever he found it. Once again, he chose to camp by a river and tied up Cloudfall for the night and slept. But his quick ears heard stealthy footsteps in the night, and he dressed quickly. He had managed to put on one boot, but not the other, before his enemies rushed the Bogatyri. Having no other weapon at hand, he beat them all soundly with the second boot, ferociously driving them off. When yet again he returned to royal Kiev town, he was summoned to feast by Prince Volodymyr. Again the prince and the Bogatyri sat at the oaken board, eating savory viands and white swans and quaffing sweet mead. The red son of Kiev asked of Ilya what adventures had he experienced. Ilya held nothing back and told the tale of how, using naught but his boot, now red with the blood of his enemies, he had defeated them. Ever the wag of the Bogatyrs, Alyosha Popovich gave Ilya the nickname Ilya Chobotok, which means the boot. It was later said that Ilya had dyed his boots red to celebrate the victory and to silence the tongue of Alyosha. It was at the feast I heard this tale. There it was, I drank mead ale. Though it flowed down my beard, my mouth stayed dry, for never a drop passed my lips, swear I.